Okay, settle in, because we're about to step off the map and into something truly extraordinary. Today's deep dive takes us on a journey that starts in a very small internal space, the perceived confines of a single consciousness, and somehow ends.
Well, it kind of defies easy description. It's beyond the edge of anything we typically understand as reality or even existence. Our source material is a truly profound and unusual narrative shared with us by you, our listener, and let me tell you, it's less of a map and more of a descent into the beautifully bizarre.
That's right. We're looking at a narrative that doesn't just tell a story. It grapples head on with some fundamental, almost, well, impossible questions. The limits of human existence, the very nature of reality itself, memory, desire, and this relentless, almost painful search, not for truth in a conventional sense, but perhaps for something closer to non-existence. It's a deeply personal story, often unsettling, yeah, full of visions and transformations, but it's absolutely packed with potential insights if we can, unpack its layers. Think of this as charting a landscape unlike any other you've explored. We're going to follow the path laid out in this text, moving through its distinct sizes, but we're going to slow down, pull out the key moments, the surprising twists, and try to understand the underlying ideas. Our mission here is to extract the core knowledge and perspective offered by this truly unique source, helping you navigate its depths.
It's not about just summarizing what happens, right? It's exploring why it happened, what these strange encounters and transformations might represent. It's a narrative that really challenges our perceptions of identity, connection, and, well, the universe itself.
Absolutely. So let's unpack this. Our story begins with the narrator in a state of profound confinement. It's not just being stuck somewhere physically. There's a feeling of being imprisoned by their very existence. They describe feeling trapped by the physical body itself, this prison of blood and flesh.
Yes, and this sense of limitation, it extends beyond the physical. There's also the feeling of being confined by time. The source says, time will not allow us to fully enjoy everything in the world, the sort of pressure of finitude.
Hmm.
And a limitation in knowledge, too. It's this pervasive feeling that even genuinely unique personal experiences are ultimately just a form of comfort,
Hmm.
a coping mechanism, because we can't truly connect or share reality in the same way with anyone else.
Right. And the solution the narrator proposes is incredibly drastic. A complete, almost, well, violent withdrawal from everything external. They decide to embrace the world of ideas within the mind, seeing it as more real than the physical world. There's this insight here that memory isn't perfect recall. It's filled in by imagination, which paradoxically makes that internal world feel more substantial, more dependable.
And the physical actions mirror this internal decision, yeah? The narrator describes walking a steep path to a clean, dry cave, a very deliberate act of retreat, eating very simple, minimal food roasted tuber, lemonade. The explicit purpose behind this asceticism is to kill the senses, to strip away external input to reach the deepest self. The goal is to go beyond not just the physical world, but even the potentially deceptive world of imagination or conventional thought.
The resulting meditative state is intense. The
Mhm.
body feels broken, resisting the shedding process. The narrator is actively waiting for death, hoping to shed the body like a blanket. And in this state of profound detachment, time disappears, and they feel themselves floating in emptiness. This initial phase sets a clear stage, a deliberate, almost painful attempt to shed the perceived limitations of physical existence and reach a state of pure potentiality, or perhaps nothingness.
It's in this state of emptiness, stripped down to perhaps just consciousness itself, that the first truly strange encounters begin. The narrator hears a voice, but the source specifies it's not with ears, but with my chest. It starts as a rumbling, then becomes clearer, described as a childlike voice, and it asks something completely nonsensical to human understanding.
Right, the source gives that string of characters. Hashtag TJ7.R2 at high. Is utterly alien, immediately emphasizing that this is not a normal encounter. And this is followed by a truly bizarre vision, a colorless expanse where the narrator sees themselves infinitely reflected, old and naked. Then countless eyes open everywhere, only to dissolve into black mud, drowning the narrator.
That vision is visceral, disturbing, and deeply symbolic, isn't it? The infinite reflections, perhaps representing a fragmented or, multiplied self, and the eyes dissolving into drowning mud. It speaks to a collapse of identity, a fear of being overwhelmed or consumed by a chaotic, dark force. But the narrator fights it, returning to that same expanse.
And this time, the vision shifts. They see a transparent, glowing little girl who seems to embody the universe itself. Her very breathing depicts creation and destruction on a cosmic scale. Her belly swells, leading to a great explosion, a big bang, basically. But the vision culminates not in awe, but in tragedy. Her eyes opening, filled with surprise, pain, and horror. This implies creation itself was not a joyful or planned event from the perspective of this cosmic entity.
Exactly. And then the voice returns, clearer, softer, asking that strange sequence again, but ending with an exclamation. Hashtag TJ7.R2AEF at hi. And crucially, it follows with, so that's how you see me. This line is fascinating. It directly implies that the terrifying, tragic vision of the girl embodying creation was a reflection of the narrator's own perception or inner state rather than an objective reality. The source says the voice becomes full of attention, a little girl's voice. Then, something pulls them back like an anchor, jolting them awake from this intense, revealing state.
Waking up after that experience must have been jarring. The narrative immediately hits you with a rush of sensory details after the emptiness and abstract visions. Wind chimes, wind, sweat, warmth, glare. The physical world rushes back in wooden ceiling with cobwebs, dust on fingers, a cold wooden floor.
But the biggest, most immediate surprise upon waking is finding a small, light girl lying on top of them. She's wearing a black dress, which becomes significant later and seems completely unaffected by sweat, unlike the narrator. Her fingers are near her mouth, a small detail that hints at her childlike, perhaps curious, nature.
And the narrator immediately feels a change in themselves. They effortlessly lift and carry her. This new physical capability is striking. They are clearly in a different body than the one they tried to shed in the cave. They see their reflection in a blurry mirror, a strong body, dark hair, explicitly not the old gray self from the vision. This physical transformation is a key part of this reawakening.
Exploring the surroundings adds another layer. It feels strangely familiar, a wooden room, carved furniture. Stepping onto the balcony reveals the full, serene scene. A hill overlooking a green valley, a white sand beach, the ocean meeting the sky. And the realization clicks for the narrator. This place feels like an intended isolation, a deliberate location chosen specifically to escape fate. It's a retreat, but perhaps not the one they initially thought.
The mystery around the girl deepens almost immediately. The narrator feels watched, and the girl is looking with these incredibly hypnotic, dark eyes. She climbs onto the balcony railing, sitting high above, and asks coldly, "So, this is the place you've longed for?"
That question is loaded, isn't it? The narrator is still reeling from the shifting reality, the new body, the bizarre vision, and they feel like this mysterious figure was somehow always in the missing parts of their memory. It's a sense of uncanny familiarity layered with complete strangeness. Then the girl asks, this time, "What will you name me?" And the narrator's mouth speaks a name they didn't consciously know, Mavanya.
Vanya. The name just appears, unbidden, linking Vanya deeply to the narrator's subconscious, or maybe, something from their past that they've lost. They explore the villa, confirming it's a family property, specifically a hideout, reinforcing that idea of escaping or hiding. It's empty, but surprisingly functional fridge, washing machine work, a strange domestic reality in an isolated place. Vanya, in contrast to the narrator's attempt at exploring this new reality, remains uninterested in the villa itself, focused on the world outside.
The narrator finds tangible links to a past life, family photos, sister's clothes, a toy horse. Vanya looks back, and the source says she seems to see right through the narrator, suggesting she perceives something deeper or different than what is outwardly present. Then a very human problem arises. Her stomach rumbles. She's confused by the sensation of hunger, which tells us this physical body and these sensations are new to her. The narrator, perhaps clinging to a sense of normalcy or a way to connect, offers to cook and heads to the market.
This mundane act is immediately layered with the bizarre. They need money and find it by breaking open a clay tiger coin bank. This act triggers a strange memory flash, which the narrator immediately dismisses. This is a crucial hint that their past or identity is fragmented or hidden. Walking to the market reinforces the profound isolation. An overgrown path, empty road, only nature sounds, and a subtle, unsettling detail. The shadows of trees seem to swallow the narrator's own shadow.
The market itself is deserted. Empty stalls, abandoned goods, monkeys eating fruit. The narrator's question, "Where did everyone go?" hangs in the air. They find a calendar stopped at March 2020, grounding the setting in a specific yet abandoned point in recent history. Vanya examines it, and her reaction is telling. She smiles, finding amusement in time being trapped itself on paper, and even the sexy model on the calendar. It's a moment of almost innocent yet profound detachment from human concepts of time and social norms. The narrator collects food, leaves the exact money, another attempt at a familiar, orderly human action, and follows Vanya, who is looking at the sky, still focused outward. This whole sequence blends the mundane act of getting food with the persistent sense of mystery, isolation, and Vanya's alien nature navigating human reality.
As sunset arrives, the narrator seems to fully inhabit this new physical body, finally free from old pains. There's a sense of wonder. They keep moving their hands, fascinated by their newfound strength and freedom. Vanya observes, and the source gives that peculiar detail that she seems to have eyes even on her back, reinforcing her unnerving, almost omniscient presence.
The meal they prepare is simple roasted tubers, boiled withered vegetables. The rice is buggy, so they focus on the tubers, a consistent element linking back to the cave. Vanya sits at the clean table, looks at her reflection, and notes the empty chairs, 7 total. This silently raises the question of who was here before, hinting at the villa's history and perhaps the narrator's past family.
Vanya imitates the narrator eating, a mimicry that underscores her newness to these experiences. And her reaction to taste is truly striking. She's genuinely surprised, saying, "I didn't know this flavor existed. Salty but sweet, a little burned. My tongue feels the burnt smell." It's a sensory overload for her, expressed with childlike wonder.
But this physical experience quickly becomes overwhelming. She eats faster and faster until she chokes. The narrator gives her water, and Vanya is confused by the discomfort, noting her jaw, neck, and stomach hurt. This confirms that feeling physical pain and discomfort is also a novel experience for her.
The narrator gives Vanya tissue, cleaning her mouth, and this physical contact triggers another flicker of memory déjà vu from touching her lips. This echoes the earlier dismissed memory flash and reinforces that Vanya is somehow connected to the narrator's hidden past. The narrator uses this moment to offer a lesson, framing the discomfort through a human lens. You have to eat slowly. To enjoy something, we have to do it slowly and enjoy every moment. They immediately connect this to a core human desire, why humans want long lives, to savor everything, even the unpleasant parts.
The narrator expands on this with the tuber analogy, the bitterness and sweetness, the need to chew. You need bitter for sweet, hunger for fullness, moving your mouth for your stomach to be full. They conclude, that's life. Vanya watches intensely but doesn't agree, simply observing, absorbing. She finishes eating, leaving the plates clean. This shared meal is pivotal. It introduces Vanya to taste and pain, grounds the abstract search for non-existence in the duality of physical sensation, and highlights the narrator's attempt to explain human experience to this profoundly non-human entity. Almost immediately after this shared meal, while the narrator is washing dishes, Vanya's presence is gone. They search for her and find her upstairs on the balcony in obvious physical distress. She's leaning on the railing, sweating profusely, her black dress wet, face red, eyes weak.
The narrator touches her forehead, confirming she's hot, and Vanya signals for help, another moment of vulnerability. She feels heavier now as the narrator lifts her, takes her inside, loosens her dress, and uses cold water and ripped towels to cool her down. A dusty fan is turned on, windows open for air. It's a scene of unexpected human-like sickness and care.
It's in this state of physical vulnerability that Vanya makes a truly surprising statement. It feels so good. What's happening to me?
The mysterious, almost alien aura she usually carries fades. The narrator has a clear realization. This is the same strange figure from the initial vision, but she's experiencing physical suffering and relief. The narrator explains it simply as sunstroke from the heat absorbed by her black dress. Vanya sits up, examining her red-tinged pale skin, her black dress. She clutches her collar, closes her eyes, then opens them, surprised at herself, asking, "What is it?" Shakes her head, lies down, looking at the feeling. It's as if she's seeing and feeling this body and its limitations for the first time in this way.
The narrator offers clothes belonging to their sister, planning to wash them, an offer of a different, lighter identity perhaps, but Vanya doesn't reply. As the narrator leaves, Vanya speaks again, her distress prompting deeper philosophical reflection on human nature. To feel this cool comfort, humans must feel burning heat. To feel the joy of fullness, humans fast. To get pleasure from things, humans restrain themselves by saving. Isn't just their own life enough? Or do they just deceive themselves with illusions they create? It's a sharp critique of human desire and self-deception, prompted by her own physical discomfort and the comfort of relief. The narrator feels her eyes on them as they leave, the weight of her observations lingering.
The simple act of washing clothes becomes highly symbolic here. The narrator is washing Vanya's black dress and other clothes, finding old detergent. Watching the machine spin, waiting, time feels betrayed, the source says. This mundane machine work clashes with the timeless, bizarre events they've experienced, highlighting the disorientation.
The narrator tries desperately to rationalize being in the past, the paradox of their situation. Their head hurts, and the visions return the old self-watching, the dissolving eyes, the girl with the universe inside. Questions flood their minds, seeking understanding. What does it mean? Can't be answered by religion or common understanding. Is this heaven? Hell? A subtle torment. The laundry task is a futile attempt to impose order on a chaotic reality, and it fails as the strangeness encroaches.
When the machine finishes, they take the clothes upstairs. Vanya is standing like a ghost, dripping wet, still in the black dress. She seems confused by the clean clothes, but nods and removes the wet black dress.
And this is where things take a darker turn. The sound of the wet dress falling triggers a strong, almost panicked reaction in the narrator. They drop the clothes, turn away, leave the room, trying desperately to erase the sight.
But the memory of her smooth skin, her small body, is haunting, intrusive. And guilt intensifies the memory. They go to the balcony, but the views, trees like legs, rocks like shoulders distorted by their mind remind them of her body. They bite their lip and dig their nails into their palm, a physical manifestation of their internal turmoil.
And then the cursing. Not just because of the disturbing body memory, but because the face on that body wasn't Vanya's. This is a crucial, unsettling detail. The body is familiar, triggering physical and emotional reactions and guilt in the narrator, but the identity they now associate with it, Vanya, doesn't fit. This links back to the earlier dismissed déjà vu and suggests the new body is deeply tied to the narrator's own past, separate from Vanya herself, adding a layer of trauma and confusion to their connection. After that distress on the balcony, the narrative continues with several intense interactions. In one, Vanya approaches the narrator wearing the white dress, which seems to fit her and makes her feel lighter. The narrator's face is pale from the turmoil. Vanya tries to touch them, but the narrator flinches, avoiding contact, looking down. Vanya asks the narrator to look in her eyes, and the narrator struggles. They can't see their own reflection in her eyes, which leads them to wonder if they are the ghost in this reality. Their eyes sting, their body weakens, they kneel, unable to look away from Vanya's gaze. Vanya says, "Enough. Does it feel better?" And the narrator feels their own body again, headache gone, Vanya looks normal again.
This exchange is potent. Vanya's gaze seems to have a profound effect, capable of both causing distress and restoring stability. Vanya explains that she herself felt uncomfortable, and looking into her own eyes in the mirror made her feel better, a strange form of self-calibration for this entity. The narrator observes that Vanya's expressions are increasing, as if she's mastering a human mask, becoming more adept at mimicking human emotion. Vanya then asks if she can cook, a return to a seemingly normal domestic request. The narrator nods. Outside, the sunset is described as round, reminding the narrator of a womb of creation-destruction, echoing the vision of the universe girl and hinting at Vanya's deeper nature.
Following this, Vanya imitates the narrator cooking, a continued exploration of human tasks. The narrator sits and watches their own reflection, feeling relief perhaps because of seeing their own stable image, or just seeing Vanya acting in a familiar way. Vanya serves the narrator first, offering a hand-fed tuber, a gesture of intimacy. The narrator accepts, closes their eyes, eats. Vanya offers water, then a second bite, which the narrator declines. This refusal seems to disappoint Vanya, and the atmosphere becomes awkward. The narrator eats fast, washes dishes quickly, and leaves to try and find someone outside, perhaps seeking escape again or just a connection beyond Vanya.
As night falls, the moon is out. The narrator walks, finding empty houses, a complete ghost town. They feel alone. They avoid turning on lights, a strange detail perhaps clinging to old habits, even in this surreal place. No other light than the villa confirms their isolation. There are no vehicles, the area feels utterly cut off, their body is tired, and they feel drawn back to the lived villa like a moth, a sense of inevitable return. There's no modern technology, no phone, radio, TV, emphasizing the timeless, disconnected nature of the island. Reaching the villa door, they hear soft laughter and see a girl with a teddy bear. It's Vanya, engaging in a seemingly innocent human activity.
Vanya's questions turn philosophical again, prompted by the teddy bear. She asks if it's a baby substitute for girls, and if girls miss babies they used to care for. The narrator answers evasively with a question back, "How about you?" This catches Vanya by surprise. She leaves the bear, walks away, and makes a shocking statement. "The last time I had a child, it chose to tear my stomach and force itself out." This connects back powerfully to the terrifying vision of the universe girl and the explosion, suggesting Vanya is somehow linked to the creation event itself, perceiving it as a traumatic birth where her child, the universe or existence, tore her apart. She goes upstairs, perhaps to the balcony, and the narrator's cigarette tastes bitter, the mundane world tainted by her profound, disturbing statement.
This intense revelation about the child universe seems to deeply affect the narrator. In another scene, they take a cold shower to calm down, finding only a tiny bar of soap, another sign of limited resources. With closed eyes, the water feels like small hands, a phantom touch, perhaps Vanya's. Their tongue is sour. They desperately want to dry off and smoke, but feel stuck like a statue. They hear the door open, and Vanya enters, mesmerizingly watching the water running over the narrator's body and going down the drain. This is another moment of Vanya observing human physicality and its processes. She leaves. The narrator hits the wall, thinking they might have seen Vanya bite her lip, a possible sign of restraint or emotion. They dry off. Vanya brings clean clothes, saying she washed them, a gesture of care after her disturbing statement. The narrator thanks her silently, dresses comes out, and Vanya's gone again. Seeing their reflection, they look fresh physically, but feel like their soul is dead. They feel cold and smell Vanya's scent, feeling like she hugged them. The dwindling soap supply adds a touch of practical worry to the surreal.
The final scene in the sequence finds the narrator on the sofa, watching a pendulum clock with no numbers. Time exists, but isn't measured conventionally. They want to stay awake, anxious about Vanya's unpredictable nature. 2 hours pass, 2 packs of cigarettes. The narrator is clearly stressed. There's no sign of Vanya. They go to the balcony and find Vanya on the railing again, fighting sleep, her head bobbing. Her body almost falls, and the narrator rushes to catch her. Vanya catches herself, surprised, asking in a tired voice, "What is it?" The narrator urges her to sleep, pointing out her body can't handle fatigue. They try to lift her, but she pushes their hand away, jumps off the railing, almost falling. The narrator wants to guide her, but stops, sensing she'd refuse. Vanya makes another strange statement about identity and vulnerability. "I'm not sure I'll open my eyes if I disappear in this body." She's struggling to stay awake in this physical form. The narrator, grasping for a connection to grounded reality, suggests the teddy bear again. Vanya seems to think, then leaves. The narrator lies on the sofa and realizes the bear is gone, taken by Vanya, perhaps accepting the suggestion or pursuing her own strange purpose with it. This collection of scenes highlights Vanya's struggle with human physicality, her disturbing past linked to creation, and the narrator's increasing anxiety and fascination.
Darkness descends again, and the narrative plunges us into a new kind of confinement, this time internal. The narrator feels constrained, unable to breathe or move easily. Their body feels heavy, enclosed in something tough but fragile. They use their nails to tear at it, feeling cold air enter. They keep tearing, moving to see what's beyond this lie-it blanket, a term suggesting a covering or veil. They see a blinding light, and the air pulls them, ripping the blanket completely. The sound they hear is a deafening scream.
This is a deeply symbolic sequence. Tearing through the lie-it blanket towards light feels like a painful, forced emergence or birth, and that scream, it immediately connects to the earlier vision of the universe girl whose eyes opened in pain and horror after the explosion. This vision again seems to be deeply tied to creation or emergence, but framed as a traumatic event.
And this terrifying, birthing-like vision is immediately followed by waking up to hear Vanya screaming from the living room. The narrator rushes to the room, finding Vanya on the bed, hugging herself, sweating, her white dress now transparent with sweat. Her eyes stare into empty space, the teddy bear on the floor nearby, perhaps linking her state to the earlier conversation about it.
As the narrator approaches, Vanya grabs their hands tightly, her nails digging in. She asks, "Will you touch my stomach?" Her face is scared, lips trembling, body shivering. The narrator nods. Vanya releases their hands, closes her eyes, and guides the narrator's hand to her stomach. It feels cold, wet, with a faint pulse that fades. This is the first physical hint of something profoundly wrong with her body, linked to the place where creation might occur.
Vanya sighs, pushes the narrator's hand away, and lies down. The narrator, perhaps overwhelmed by the intensity and strangeness, tries to rationalize it as just a nightmare and leaves. But Vanya calls out again. "I saw it. My stomach tore open and I saw a hand come out. It really hurt. Even after I opened my eyes, the pain is strong."
This statement is incredibly disturbing and ties her internal vision directly to physical sensation in this body. She literally felt her stomach tear open in her dream, and the pain persists. It's a nightmarish echo of cosmic creation, experienced as personal, physical violation. The narrator feels Vanya watching, expecting them to stay, for comfort or answers perhaps.
But the narrator retreats again, telling her, "It's just a nightmare. Wash yourself and you won't have nightmares again," offering a mundane solution to a metaphysical problem, and leaves without looking at her face. They try to reconnect with the dream they had, the one they hope won't repeat, perhaps hoping to return to the emptiness rather than face Vanya's traumatic reality. This whole sequence reinforces the idea that creation is tied to pain and tearing, both in cosmic visions and Vanya's personal experience, and the narrator is deeply uncomfortably connected to it.
Early the next morning, perhaps still unsettled by the night's events, the narrator takes some tubers, cigarettes, and a lighter, leaving the villa to follow the road towards the east, towards the sunlight. It feels like an impulse to escape the villa and the strangeness contained within it.
They pass remnants of a normal civilization, a broken bus, a dry gas station, ghosts of a world they left behind. As they walk, flashes of memory or visions return, whispers, and the shadow of a little girl passing happily. This mixes the attempt at physical escape with lingering psychological echoes. The rising sun seems to call to them, and they walk faster, desperate to find civilization, connection, a known reality.
The landscape shifts dramatically, from forest to dense trees, then stark rock formations. The sun rises higher, it's hot, and the wind stops helping. Even nature seems to turn against their escape attempt. They drink their bottled water, still pushing forward, driven by the hope of reaching a pier and finding ships, a way back to the world.
Clouds begin to gather, the sky darkens ominously, they see a long structure in the sea and, heartened by the possibility of escape, run towards it.
But the crushing realization arrives as they get closer. It's only the ruined, skeletal remains of a pier. There's no fuel station, no loading area, utterly non-functional. The understanding sinks in, heavy and absolute. It's impossible to reach this island by fishing boats, and large ships won't dock without a proper pier. They are utterly isolated, trapped.
The clouds completely cover the sky, merging with the ocean, erasing the horizon. Rain starts. The narrator's reaction is telling. They spread their arms, accepting this as punishment for running from fate again, for trying to escape the reality of the island and Venya. They walk back slowly, empty stomach, wet cigarette physical discomfort mirroring their dashed hopes. The rain turns into a full storm. They take off clothes, dropping the precious tubers and water to lighten their load, but the storm worsens. Their eyes struggle to open, but through the chaos they are sure a girl in a white dress is waiting. Venya. This failed escape attempt underscores the inescapable nature of the island and their fate there, forcing the narrator back towards the very thing they tried to flee just as the storm breaks. As the storm rages, the journey back is fraught with symbolic weight. Lightning flashes with each step, illuminating shadows on the road that don't just appear, but form burning scenes, forcing painful memories to the surface. Lightning and thunder create two shadows, a tall one and a short one, pulling each other, and the source notes that the small one always pulls the large one.
This imagery of the shadows is powerful. The tall and short shadows could represent the narrator in their new body and Vanya, or perhaps different aspects of the narrator's self, or past and present, locked in a struggle, with the smaller, perhaps weaker or more vulnerable aspect, surprisingly driving the larger one. They are searching for light, direction, west, but the road is flooding from the rising tide, murky water around their ankles, blurring the path.
The rain feels mocking, constant, deafening. They can't cover their ears as the thunder shakes their chest. It's an overwhelming, hostile environment, both externally and internally, as the memories are forced upon them.
They finally see the uphill path. The villa is close, but ominously there's no light coming from it. The door to return seems closed metaphorically, leaving no choice but to keep going, despite the storm intensifying with the ascent. The narrator slips, hitting their shin on a stair, pain shooting through their legs. They crawl upstairs, half limping, physically broken, reaching the open room. Lightning, thunder, and the full force of the storm hit their face.
And inside, confirming the premonition, they see Venya. She's leaning on the bed, pale with empty, lifeless eyes. This journey through the storm, laden with symbolic visions of inner struggle and painful memories, leads the narrator back to the villa and finds Venya in a dire, near-lifeless state, emphasizing the deep connection and shared fate of their struggle. The narrator's physical breakdown mirrors Vanya's state, binding them together on this isolated island.
The narrator falls on the slippery floor in the room. The water on the floor turns to ice, a strange perception perhaps fueled by shock or cold, feeling like a city rained on with stones. Despite their own state, they force their body to close the windows against the storm, but are constantly pulled back to check on Vanya. And here's a key, surprising detail the source provides. The narrator's primal fear is gone when seeing her. In her helpless state, she no longer triggers that anxiety.
They close all windows and doors, then lift Vanya's cold body, taking her to the dry sofa. They remove her wet shirt, checking desperately for signs of life, but find nothing, no pulse, only the sound of the storm filling the silence where a heartbeat should be.
They unbutton her dress, preparing for CPR, a desperate attempt at resuscitation, but their hands tremble, lacking strength from their own injuries. They hesitate, fearing they'll worsen her condition. Shaking their head and biting their lip, they decide they must try. They push her chest 3 times and give mouth to mouth, eyes closed against the storm and the reality. Thunderclaps, deafening, making it impossible to hear a pulse. Lightning flashes with each breath, seeming to interfere, almost preventing the rescue attempt.
But against the odds, Vanya's eyelid flutters, and there's a faint heartbeat. Her chest rises weakly. The narrator knows they must stabilize her. She needs warmth and dry clothes. They go upstairs, only to be disappointed all her clothes are wet. Walking back slowly, a small detail catches their eye. Vanya's black dress on the washing machine, somehow spared the soaking or perhaps removed and forgotten there earlier. Returning to the living room, they're relieved. Vanya is still there, eyes open but blank, but she's breathing.
The narrator's heart flutters with this small sign of life. They know they must change her clothes for warmth, but they hesitate. Shaking their head and swallowing, they choose to look away while undressing her and drying her body, a moment of strange, conflicted intimacy given her state. Their hands shake, whether from cold or fear. They manage to put the black morning dress back on easily. The garment that brought her discomfort before now serves a vital function.
Yeah, Vanya sits like a lifeless doll in the black dress. The narrator searches frantically for food, suddenly remembering the tubers they discarded during the failed escape attempt in the storm. This sequence is incredibly raw, the narrator's physical pain and desperation, facing down the storm, fighting for Vanya's life, the return to the symbolic black dress, and the dawning realization of their failed escape having cost them precious resources needed now for survival.
Driven by the need for food, the narrator leaves the villa again during the storm to rummage in the mud and rain, searching for edible roots among the wreckage of their escape attempt. The storm and lightning no longer bother them. External chaos is secondary to the internal mission. Time feels slow. Their body is fighting exhaustion and injury. They can't feel the cold, only numbness, and a new pain when burned by the fire they'll build later.
Entering the villa again, their shadow grows large behind them in the stormlight. In the living room, a striking, unsettling scene awaits. A trash can is filled with dirty clothes, including the narrator's own discarded garments, the teddy bear, the toy horse, and even books. They are burning in a purification fire, not just for warmth, but described explicitly as a purification fire set to keep Vanya warm.
This is highly symbolic. Burning their own clothes, the teddy bear, a symbol of Vanya's brief human exploration, the toy horse, perhaps from the narrator's past, and books, knowledge. It's a ritualistic shedding or destruction of past selves, comforts, and anchors to the known world, all for Vanya's survival. Meanwhile, Vanya remains silent, staring at empty air, unresponsive. The narrator is lost in the storm-induced timelessness. They can't tell if it's morning or night. The storm feels eternal.
The narrator's belief is simple and primal. Vanya's needs to eat, needs internal warmth. They take the roots collected in the mud, skewer them on a fork, and burn them in the purification fire. The tuber is done, smelling burned. The narrator cuts it and puts a piece near Vanya's face, but still no reaction.
This leads to a desperate, visceral act. The narrator puts a piece of the chewed tuber in their own mouth, chewing slowly despite their jaw hurting from injury, then takes it out with their fingers. Vanya's mouth opens when her lips are touched. The narrator carefully puts the chewed, pre-masticated food in her mouth, gets water, helps her chew, and makes her drink to swallow. It's a scene of raw, almost animalistic forced feeding, born of desperation.
But there's still no result. Vanya's temperature doesn't rise. Her skin becomes paler with a terrifying bluish tinge. The narrator looks at their own hands, redder, healthier, a stark contrast.
And then the horrific question enters the narrator's mind, born from this contrast and desperation. Must I do that? This prompts a series of increasingly disturbing actions. They put the plate down, strip naked themselves, and remove Vanya's clothes, deliberately looking away, perhaps unable to bear the sight or their own actions.
As this happens, a disturbing shadow appears on the wall from the firelight, a large black shadow undressing a helpless figure. The narrator feels nauseous, witnessing their own actions distorted into something monstrous. They sit on the sofa, lift Vanya, and put her on their lap. She feels heavier now, cold. The narrator's chest freezes, and they shiver violently, teeth chattering, as Vanya's coldness seems to transfer to them.
Trembling, the narrator continues the forced feeding, taking another tuber piece, chewing it, giving it to Vanya with water, repeating the process.
And then, the brutal, horrifying revelation. They see the food falling out from Vanya's stomach. The narrator realizes Vanya's stomach is a hole. She is a skin-covered skeleton, a skull. This shocking discovery shatters any remaining illusion of Vanya's physical humanity or conventional form. The earlier hints of her body being unfamiliar or strange culminate in this grotesque image of emptiness where life-sustaining organs should be. It redefines Vanya as something fundamentally non-physical, despite inhabiting a body, and casts the narrator's desperate, intimate rescue attempts in a chilling new light. After that horrifying scene, the narrator suddenly opens their eyes. Their body feels heavy, their shirt soaked with sweat. A cigarette butt is on the floor, a mundane anchor.
Morning. Vanya's faint voice breaks the silence. The narrator is startled. Vanya is standing there in her white dress, holding a plate of roasted tuber, a stark contrast to the nightmare.
Eat, you must be hungry, Vanya says, then runs upstairs, returning to her mysterious routine. The narrator is left with the warm tuber and water. Looking at the table, it reflects their face, sweaty, wet. The realization hits. This scene, Vanya bringing the tuber waking up, was Vanya waking from her nightmare. But it happened in the narrator's dream. Their realities are intertwined and projected onto each other.
The narrator is truly hungry now, a return to basic physical need after the abstract horrors. They eat everything fast, drink water. 4 tubers are gone. They are now part of the bad dreams, tainted by the nightmare experience. As they step, they feel pain from the broken piggy bank pieces, a physical reminder of the earlier dismissed memory flash and the attempt to find money in this strange reality. The teddy bear watches, another reminder of the dream, and Vanya's earlier philosophical questions.
They throw away the broken piggy bank pieces, actively discarding this painful reminder. Looking at the valley and ocean, the blue sky and sea, which earlier seemed beautiful, now feel like a sphere-shaped cage, a prison without bars. There's no desire to escape anymore. The struggle is over.
Acceptance washes over them. Place is here. No more punishment needed to convince. Foolish to fight it. This is a significant turning point. The failure of escape, the horrifying revelation, and the blurring of dream reality lead to a surrender, an acceptance of their fate on the island with Vanya.
To relieve stress, they go outside, not to escape, but towards the hill path, now overgrown. Monkey sounds, birds, and a strange insect harmony fill the air, a contrast to the storm's cacophony. A monkey runs past, stops, eats a red fruit, looks at the narrator, and runs off. Curious, the narrator follows, bored of tubers and wanting to find the fruit. This feels like a quiet, almost aimless exploration after the intensity, guided by simple curiosity.
They hear water, a source is nearby where the fruit grows, maybe fish too. Pushing through leaves that look like anthurium, they find a slow-moving clear river with visible fish.
They hear a small waterfall and look up, shocked. Vanya is bathing in the waterfall, hands raised, washing her hair. Her eyes are serene, watching the fish. Her small body looks different again, fuller, brighter, pinker skin than in the nightmare where she was a skeleton. This hints at the fluidity of her form, perhaps reflecting the narrator's shifting perception or her own state.
Vanya sees the narrator. Their eyes meet, and the source describes a strange, unspoken feeling. This moment in the serene, almost Edenic setting after the storm and nightmare marks a shift. The narrator has accepted their reality, and Vanya appears healthy and peaceful, inviting a new phase in their relationship.
The narrator, overwhelmed or perhaps hesitant, hides behind a tree, watching ants, listening for Vanya. They hear splashing and imagine her slender legs. Then they hear the sound of clothes drying wet skin, noting the difference in the second, quieter cloth, the white dress. The white color is symbolic here, suggesting purity or a rejection of stain, contrasting with the black dress and the darkness of the previous night.
When Vanya sees the narrator hiding, her reaction is notable. There's no shame, fear, or disgust, just questioning eyes. The narrator's presence doesn't bother her. Her body is not a burden to her. The source emphasizes that language can't capture this moment, that she is silent, not affirming or denying, and that meaning and symbols collapse in her presence. She exists beyond conventional human understanding and judgment.
Her eyes appear from behind the tree where the narrator is hiding. She watches with a faint, mysterious smile. She's chest height to the narrator standing behind the tree, creating an uncomfortable feeling of being seen, judged, or exposed when she looks at them from this lower angle.
She asks simply why, referring to the narrator hiding. The narrator shakes their head, drawing lines with a stick, messing up the ants, a nervous, avoidant gesture. I had a bad dream, the narrator replies, offering the nightmare as the reason for their strange behavior.
The narrator feels Vanya move and flinches back, expecting something. Vanya's hand stops in the air. Her surprised expression freezes, then sweeps away with a smile, perhaps amused or understanding. Maybe you can use the teddy bear. Last night I didn't dream. She offers a simple, practical solution from her limited understanding of human comfort, linking back to the earlier discussion of the bear.
Vanya disappears. Was it a reflex rejection of the human moment? Did she have other plans? The narrator is left alone and looks around, seeing faint, small footprints in the soil, irregular, like dancing. Intrigued, they follow them through thick branches, hitting their head, a clumsy intrusion into Vanya's world.
The footprints lead to another, deeper part of the river. The narrator must descend, crossing rocks, following the wet prints. The prints stop where the river bottom isn't visible. The water is like a mirror, showing the narrator's own reflection, sweaty, tired, tortured.
The narrator wonders if Vanya could have gone into this deep water. Another shadow appears, startling them. Their foot slips on moss and they fall in. The last sight before the water covers them is Vanya's face receding, watching them fall. This sequence highlights the narrator's continued fascination and discomfort with Vanya, her cryptic statements, the failed attempt to follow her elusive presence, and the physical consequence of their clumsy pursuit, ending in a plunge into the unknown. The fall into the water immediately transitions into a terrifying near-death experience, blending physical peril with symbolic imagery. The narrator feels themselves floating, then suddenly dropped, dragged over rocks. In this state of trauma, they believe this is judgment, feeling forcibly stripped naked. Hot sun burns their skin, yet they shiver. Their skin burns, their chest is pressed.
Life feels pulled in and out. Their chest tightens, wanting to explode. Everything darkens, but they see a light. A faint face with cold, black eyes appears. Vanya's eyes, followed by thin lips, giving what the narrator perceives as a kiss of death. This reinforces the idea that Vanya, or what she represents, is tied to the ultimate end, perhaps even judgment.
They cough water, vomit tuber, and stomach acid, a violent expulsion of mundane life they consumed. They hear tearing cloth and feel their body being cleaned. Small hands touch their body, which feels disturbing and uncomfortable.
Judgment lightning slashes through their eyelids, then rain falls, attempting to drown them again, a return to the storm and the sense of being punished. They are dragged again. The flashes and rain disappear, leaving dark cuts on their body.
Their body shivers again, then another warmth covers them, soft, swimming, trying to hug but not fully covering. Soft fingers touch their face, play with their lips, move down to their neck and chest. Their breath shortens, feeling forced out, as if their remaining life is being taken. The finger owner moves on top like on a corpse, an incredibly unsettling image of intimacy layered with death and violation.
Then fire appears in the vision. They witness their own shadow, the large human shadow, subdued by a smaller body's shadow, Vanya's shadow. This powerful visual encapsulates the power dynamic and the sense of being overshadowed or consumed by this smaller, non-human entity. This entire sequence is an intense, traumatic blend of physical sensation, symbolic imagery of judgment and death, and a disturbing sense of being taken over or claimed by Vanya in their vulnerable state.
After that harrowing near-death experience, the narrator wakes. They hear the sound of fire burning wood and smell roasted tuber, a familiar scent from the villa and the cave. Their stomach rumbles, a return to physical hunger. They open their eyes, finding themselves asleep on dry leaves and humus, naked. Their clothes are near but fall off as they sit up, dragging their body to lean on the cave wall, injured and weak.
Sunlight is visible at the cave mouth. They are back in a cave, the cycle of retreat repeating, but this time forced by circumstance. Vanya is squatting, flipping tubers in the fire in a role reversal from the initial cave scene. "I never understood why humans lie to themselves," she says. The tuber is soft, ready. She skewers it and blows off the ash.
Humans say they're not hungry, afraid others know they can't feed themselves. This is another of Vanya's profound, questioning observations on human behavior, framed by the basic act of eating. She looks at the narrator with her dark eyes, which the source describes as captivating and calming in this context. The narrator's body feels lighter, mind calm, perhaps healing has begun, or perhaps they're simply accepting the reality. Vanya integrates perfectly into the scene, fitting into the natural world. Her white dress is torn from the storm and escape, but sunlight silhouettes her slim, fairy-like body. Her hair blows, firelight casts shadows.
Vanya's question about human self-deception hangs in the air. She offers the tuber on a stick, repeating the gesture from the villa. The narrator approaches not to take it conventionally, but to bite directly from the stick while looking at her, letting their clothes fall, accepting their naked, vulnerable state in her presence. They chew the tuber, another shared meal.
Vanya seems startled by this directness and moves closer. Perhaps the question wasn't meant for a spoken answer, but an experiential one. She pushes the narrator to lean on the wall, offering water and a cleaned coconut shell, another gesture of care. Her small hand trembles holding the water. The other helps lift the narrator's head.
She covers the narrator and feeds them, an act of profound intimacy and vulnerability. Her eyes change. She seems to enjoy doing this. Her face flushes, appearing to hold something back, perhaps a budding emotion or connection. "How are you?" Vanya asks, putting down the finished stick. The narrator reaches for her hand, a reciprocal gesture of connection. Vanya hesitates, but puts her hand in the narrator's palm.
The narrator is surprised by the size difference between their hand and hers, noting that Vanya had unconsciously sought an equal or higher position earlier, like the balcony railing, but now takes a lower, nurturing one. The narrator brings Vanya's hand to their chest, showing they are okay, offering reassurance. Vanya puts her face to the narrator's chest, listening to their heartbeat.
Strangely, their heartbeats synchronize. The narrator feels her pulse, and she tries to match their breathing. This synchronization is a powerful symbol of connection, of two different beings aligning on a fundamental biological level. She gives the narrator space, leaving with a smile and disappearing into the sunlight at the cave mouth, leaving the narrator in this moment of quiet intimacy in shared existence. This sequence in the cave is a profound shift from the previous torment, depicting unexpected tenderness, care, and a deep, almost spiritual connection between the narrator and Vanya, highlighted by the shared food, water, and synchronized heartbeats. After the cave experience, the narrator dresses and checks the fires out. The forest calls them out, inviting them into nature. They walk, holding onto the cave wall, pushing aside branches, emerging into a peaceful landscape with the river below.
They hear splashing and see Vanya's hair in white back in the gray water, bathing. She looks calmly, her dark eyes guiding the narrator closer, an invitation to join her. The narrator takes off their clothes and enters the water, slipping, forgetting the depth in their eagerness or weakness. Vanya sinks, swims like a mermaid, and pushes the narrator to the surface, saving them, reversing the earlier near-drowning experience.
Both are thrown ashore, Vanya on top, panting and coughing water. This mirrors their first strange encounter waking up on the island, but the dynamic is shifted. They're both naked now, exposed and vulnerable together.
Vanya stands, invites the narrator back into the water, asking for calm. The water sinks and lifts them, a gentle, rhythmic motion. Vanya pulls them gently to the shallow part. The fish remain undisturbed, sign that this moment is harmonious with nature, unlike the chaotic storm or the judgment imagery. Vanya leans on a large rock, inviting the narrator closer.
Sunset begins in the west, setting the scene for deeper philosophical questions. Vanya asks, why is sunset so beautiful when the sun always watches us? Is it beautiful because it's the moment of its death? This connects the beauty of the natural world to the concept of ending or dying, a theme central to the narrator's search for non-existence and Vanya's own nature.
Vanya looks at the narrator, who feels something in response to her question in her gaze. They want to say her eyes are more beautiful than the sunset, but their tongue is tied, unable to express this profound feeling in words. They try to find another answer, but fail. Then an inner voice speaks through their lips, perhaps an unconscious truth. Do I look beautiful in your eyes when I'm dying? This question is a direct, vulnerable response to Vanya's philosophy, linking the narrator's state of dying to the beauty of the sunset, mirroring Vanya's question back at her.
Vanya is silent for a moment, seemingly processing this. She doesn't deny it. She lifts a finger from the water and touches the narrator's cheek, cold, cool, a familiar touch. Her index finger seems to trace their face, her thumb touching their lips.
You always look like you're dying, Vanya says, and I'm always afraid. I'm afraid that one day I'll see you like a sunset after it's fully sunk. This is a moment of incredible vulnerability and revealed feeling from Vanya. She expresses fear of losing the narrator, seeing their journey towards non-existence or dissolution as a form of dying that she dreads witnessing the completion of.
The narrator's fingers twitch, and Vanya catches the vibration in the water, sensitive to the slightest movement. She picks up their hand and brings it to her face, another gesture of connection. The narrator tries to see her face fully, but is drawn uncontrollably to her eyes, those profound black eyes. They feel her soft cheek, her thin lips. They move closer, and she lets them embrace her.
And in this embrace, she feels their heartbeats synchronize again, mirroring the cave moment. This synchronized heartbeat is described as seemingly driving the sunset back to its rest, as if their connection has a tangible effect on the natural world, a powerful symbol of their bond influencing even cosmic events. This scene in the river bath is deeply symbolic and emotional, exploring themes of beauty, death, vulnerability, and connection, culminating in a moment of mutual understanding and expressed fear, solidified by physical intimacy and the synchronized heartbeats. After this profound moment by the river, Vanya gets dressed, putting on her torn and muddy white dress anyway. Perhaps it's simply the only option, or perhaps it carries symbolic weight of endurance or past trials. The narrator's clothes are just wrinkled from being left behind. Vanya takes the lead now, guiding the narrator back to the villa.
As they walk, fireflies follow Vanya, and the moon illuminates her path, suggesting a mystical aura around her connected to the natural world and light. Vanya opens her hands, letting the fireflies land, surprised by the sensation, still experiencing the physical world with wonder.
She asks another philosophical question, prompted by the fireflies. Do fireflies only shine for their mates, or do they realize they're part of a greater harmony of beauty? And she asks which truth the narrator chooses, presenting two potential interpretations: instinctual action versus conscious contribution to a larger pattern.
The narrator answers, choosing the more surrender-based truth. Fireflies may not realize it like humans. They just surrender to the wind and forest, unconsciously adding beauty by simply existing in their nature. This connects to the narrator's earlier acceptance of their place on the island.
Vanya smiles, seemingly pleased or accepting of this answer, and walks faster with light steps. The narrator, still recovering from injuries, struggles up the incline, but Vanya waits, staying in sight, waiting at the door, ensuring the narrator makes it back. This shows a shift. She is not leaving or abandoning the narrator. She lets the narrator open the door, allowing a moment of agency, then pulls them in and takes them directly to the room.
She pushes the narrator onto the bed and changes her own clothes, putting on the black dress again. This return to the black dress, associated with discomfort in the nightmare earlier, is notable. She then sits on the bed edge, holding the narrator's hand, providing comfort. "Can I be your teddy bear tonight?" she asks, echoing the earlier conversation about the bear as a human comfort object and offering herself in that role. The narrator grips her hand tighter in response.
Vanya leans on the wall, watching the narrator, her eyes unblinking, her mysterious nature still present despite the moments of vulnerability. The narrator's consciousness fades in and out. They don't want to sleep, perhaps fearing nightmares or Vanya's true nature, but they grip Vanya tighter, holding on to the connection. She strokes their hair, offering simple comfort, saying, "Sleep, I'll still be here when you wake." Vanya hums haltingly, searching for a tune, struggling with this human act, but the narrator likes it precisely because she's being herself, not imitating. The narrator sinks deeper into sleep, trusting her presence. This return to the villa culminates in Vanya offering a unique form of comfort and presence, taking on a symbolic human role as a teddy bear, leading directly into the episode's ultimate dream vision sequence.
As the narrator sinks into sleep, they feel nothing, but are aware. They can't feel their physical body, but know they exist. A return to the state sought in the initial cave meditation. A light appears, explodes, sucking everything in, a microcosm of creation destruction. It then spits out water and a black mud ocean, with calm parts of light and swirling darkness, a primordial landscape.
Star clusters rise from this ocean, move away, collide, and explode, cosmic events playing out. The narrator sees a familiar star birth planets and descends towards one, witnessing a changing world full of pain, healing, and pain again, the cycle of existence. The sky lowers light, humans grow. Descending closer, the world spins faster. They see their sleeping self and touch it, bridging the dream and waking reality.
They wake from this cosmic vision, and the first thing they see is Vanya's face, described as the face they longed for. Vanya falls onto the narrator, her eyes closing. "Now, be my doll," she says, yawning. A subtle shift in the dynamic, from her offering comfort to claiming a similar role for the narrator. She still holds their hand. The narrator adjusts Vanya, making them a comfortable bed, arranging her hair, making their body a cradle, reversing the earlier roles of care.
Vanya closes her eyes. The narrator watches her tiny, fragile body, feeling helpless but fearing waking her, preserving this moment. In the silence, their heartbeats and breathing synchronize again, a powerful, recurring symbol of their deep connection. The synchronization is described as faster and faster, then calming into ripples, reflecting perhaps the intensity and subsequent peace of their bond.
Then Vanya gets up, and for the first time there are tears. "Human life is so short," she says. "Just a moment I slept, and everything is done." Her hand lets go. She hugs the narrator tightly, hiding her tears, crying intensely, a raw display of human emotion, expressing sorrow and perhaps confusion about the brevity of human existence from her vast perspective.
She calms, stands, and looks at the narrator. Her black eyes have faded slightly, and the narrator can see her flushed face, making her seem more human. Why is there a creature that lives but desires death, but fears life after death? Vanya holds the narrator's cheeks, moving closer, desperately wanting to understand this paradox in humans, especially the narrator's desire for non-existence.
"Don't humans want eternal life? Don't humans want to feel this forever?" she asks, expressing confusion about the narrator's choice to seek non-existence after experiencing physical life and connection. The narrator is silent for a moment, remembering hurtful things said in their past life about death, heaven, and hell, linking their current desire for non-existence to past trauma or rejection of conventional afterlife. Then the narrator replies gently, a quiet confession. "Haven't I lived too long?"
This is a powerful exchange. The narrator slept long in their initial meditation, while Vanya slept only briefly now. But Vanya's moment felt like a painful eternity to the narrator during their shared experience, contrasting their perceptions of time and suffering. "Am I really that unworthy of rest without fear of being woken again?" the narrator asks, touching Vanya's hand, squeezing gently, wanting her as this cosmic entity to grant them this wish for ultimate rest, for non-existence without the fear of being pulled back.
Vanya's response is startling and profound, revealing the depth of her connection to the narrator's past and journey. Didn't expect a human still remembers me, and you found me by destroying many idols. Idol after idol you destroyed, only to realize that it was the absence of God you sought and desired. You truly hate the God who offered you eternity. This connects the narrator's earlier retreat and shedding in the physical world to a rejection of conventional divinity and a deliberate search for nothingness, for the absence of the creating force.
The narrator is silent, their chest tight, swallowing, face hot. A powerful feeling wells up but is restrained. You restrain yourself, Vanya accuses. You live in your lies without anyone seeing you. Why does a human live like that? Her words are a sharp cut, piercing the narrator's carefully constructed internal world. The narrator responds not with words, but physical connection. They touch her lips gently, hug her tightly, stroke her hair.
It's okay, Vanya. I don't live in that world anymore. Now it's just me and you. This is a declaration of acceptance, of leaving behind the old life, the lies, the conflict with the conventional God, and embracing this new reality with Vanya, the embodiment of the absence of God. The sounds of the world disappear, only her suppressed sobs are heard, a moment of raw, shared emotional intensity and profound mutual understanding. This dialogue culminates in a revelation of the narrator's true motivation, a search for non-existence born from a rejection of the creating God and a dismantling of their own identity, finally confessed and accepted by Vanya, leading to a deeply intimate bond forged in shared vulnerability and understanding.
Their bodies are wet with sweat and tears from the emotional intensity. Vanya calms down and gets up. She unbuttons the narrator's shirt and removes her own dress, then jumps off the bed to turn on the shower. The narrator follows, passively accepting her lead.
Vanya waits for the narrator to take off their pants and enter the shower. She offers a small stool to sit on, and in another moment of unusual intimacy, lets her small hands wash the narrator her way, without soap, using only sweat and water. "Your back is so wide," she murmurs, "as if my hands are trying to clean a very vast land." She's enjoying herself, seeing the narrator from an ant's perspective, that things are large from another view, acknowledging the narrator's scale from her own smaller, perhaps cosmic, perspective.
Your body is so solid with firm lines. Is this your past body or did it appear from my desire? She asks, directly referencing the narrator's changed body and linking it potentially to her own desires or the narrator's past self. The narrator remains silent, unable or unwilling to answer. Vanya's fingers move, swimming, washing. The water washes the touch away, but the sensation lingers.
Vanya moves in front and washes the narrator's front. The narrator tilts their head, letting the water wash their face, accepting her ministrations. "Why did you choose celibacy? Do you feel unworthy of anyone?" Vanya asks, probing into the narrator's past choices and perhaps their deeper motivations or insecurities. Her hand stops below the narrator's stomach, seeming tempted, but she resists and finishes washing. A moment of restraint.
Why would I let another life be born if I desire non-existence? The narrator replies, breaking their silence with a direct, chilling answer that connects their celibacy to their ultimate goal and their rejection of creation. The narrator looks in her eyes as they say this. She looks more human now, the source notes. Her black eyes are less dark, and the narrator feels a strange nostalgia, missing the profound darkness that first captivated them.
Vanya helps the narrator stand and then asks to be washed. The narrator takes a small soap bar and tries to make foam, masking their hand to avoid truly touching her directly, a moment of strange refusal or hesitation, despite the intimacy of the preceding moments. Vanya's body is warm, her chest rising and falling, alive. She is so small the narrator can cover her in soap in one swipe. Her body's light, easily cleaned. The narrator avoids cleaning her from the front, finishes, turns off the water, and gets a towel.
You're still rejecting me, Vanya says softly, pulling away before being dried, sensing the narrator's hesitation or reservation in the act of washing her. The narrator dries themselves and puts on their old clothes, reverting to the familiar. Vanya's absence from the immediate vicinity brings back the mundane sounds of insects, birds, and the fan, a subtle shift as the intense connection momentarily recedes.
The narrator goes to the balcony, but Vanya isn't there. They go downstairs, hearing no sound, wondering if she left naked. A strange possibility. Looking at the clock, time is shown by hands 9 a.m. The question arises, was the clock always working? This detail introduces the possibility that time is reasserting itself, or perhaps was never truly gone, but merely irrelevant until now.
Looking around, memories begin to return Grandpa's villa, photos in the drawer. They see a photo of themselves with a little girl, a concrete link to a past they had seemingly shed. Closing their eyes, they see Vanya's face with black eyes, saying something chilling. Sorry, I had to forget you. This implies Vanya was connected to this past life, this girl, and perhaps the narrator had to suppress that memory, forget her in that form, to pursue non-existence or reach Vanya in her current state.
They push the drawer shut, leaving the villa, perhaps fleeing these returning memories. As they leave, they hear faint small footsteps and see a white shadow from the corner of their eye. The shadow leads down a path with rocks on the sides, drawing them away from the villa and its past.
The ground becomes white sand. A strong wind blows, waves crash. The blue sky and ocean merge with clouds and foam. There are no boats or life, only the narrator and the vast sand, described like a giant hourglass, a powerful symbol of time and its passage reasserting itself. They see something white at the end of the beach, a figure breaking through the waves, and they feel compelled to run towards it.
The sand slows their pace, and waves push them back, but they keep running, driven towards this figure. The white figure gets closer, a small body in blue water. They reach her shoulder and she turns. The narrator is shocked by her face. It's the same dress, hair, and face from the photo, the little girl from the narrator's past, but it's not Vanya. No black eyes, but gray eyes, startled. She doesn't seem to recognize the narrator.
The girl screams, terrified, and tries to run into the ocean away from the narrator. The narrator holds her, but she struggles fiercely. The ocean recedes dramatically, exposing the seabed, fish flop, jellyfish, a strange, unnatural tidal event. Let go, the girl screams.
The narrator tries to drag the girl to higher ground, sensing impending danger. She fights, and the narrator lets go, and they fall onto the exposed seabed. The first sight after falling is her red face, holding back tears, her gray eyes teary, filled with hate and fear directed at the narrator.
The girl stands and sees something terrifying. A giant, gaping, mountain-sized wave returning. The narrator gets up, jumps and hugs her, attempting to protect her. The ocean hits, keeping her in the narrator's embrace. They feel her fingers grip their arm tightly as the water keeps pushing them. This entire sequence marks a dramatic return to the narrator's past, the reassertion of normal time and memory, the appearance of a distinct person, the girl with gray eyes, who is not Vanya but resembles the form Vanya sometimes took, and a sudden, devastating tsunami that seems linked to this reunion, highlighting the volatility of this reality and the painful intersection of the narrator's present with their buried past. The aftermath of the tsunami is brutal. The narrator's body is broken, their back feels crushed from hitting a rock. They hold their back against the waves as they recede. When the water finally pulls back, their body feels heavy, lying on the limestone floor of a cave. They cough water, gasp for air. Opening their eyes, they see the limestone rocks above, realizing they've been swept into a cave.
The little girl is loose, lying nearby. The narrator, injured and heavy, wonders if she is alive. Their body is too heavy to move easily, joints aching. Moving even a finger causes pain, described vividly like nails in joints. Their eyes sting from salt water. They can't rub them. They can't speak. In this state of complete helplessness, the question arises, is this the end?
They hear coughing and see the girl move. She gets up using her small hands, confused. She sees the narrator and her gray eyes fill with fear. Too weak to stand properly, she crawls towards the light from the cave mouth, but is met by water, the rising tide or residual flood. Confused, she looks at the narrator, then the water gives up and crawls to the cave wall leaning there. She hugs her knees, curls up, and watches the water, sometimes looking at dripping water from the ceiling, a child reacting to trauma and confinement.
The rising water in the cave feels like time eating them, slowly filling this space, a physical manifestation of time's relentless march. There's fear when looking at the water, but if distracted, it gets closer unnoticed. The girl tries to stand, limping toward the narrator. She sits on the narrator's stomach, a heavy weight. Her gray eyes are filled with fear and rage now, glaring at the narrator. Her fingers grab the narrator's neck, pressing, choking them, making their head feel light.
This is a shocking moment. The girl, seemingly vulnerable, attacks the narrator with rage and fear. Why? Is she blaming the narrator for the tsunami, for bringing them here, for not being who she expected? As the narrator's vision blurs from the choking, they see Vanya smiling. This final image is ambiguous. Is it a comforting vision, a sign that Vanya is behind this, or a cruel, knowing smile as the narrator faces death again, perhaps at the hands of their own past? This painful section depicts the brutal aftermath of the tsunami, the narrator's severe injuries, and the unexpected violent attack by the girl from their past, raising questions about her identity and motivation, and ending with the enigmatic return of Vanya's image. As the girl chokes the narrator, Vanya's shadow fades from the vision, and the narrator opens their eyes, back in the present moment in the cave. The girl's face is crying. Why? Why don't you like Vanya? She asks, releasing her grip, her rage replaced by sorrow and a child's confusion, calling Vanya by a slightly different name. This question implies the girl knows of Vanya or senses the narrator's connection to her and perhaps felt rejected by the narrator choosing Vanya over her.
Dazed, the narrator wants to wipe her face, but their hand is stuck by pain from their injuries. The girl wipes her own nose and stands. She tries to pull the narrator, help them walk, but due to her height and the narrator's broken state, the narrator can only move on their knees.
Their joints are crushed, but they force their body to follow the girl. She sobs, trying to be patient, distressed by their state. The water is rising, not waiting for them to recover. They hear dripping water nearby, hinting at another part of the cave, and struggle through rocks.
And then they feel hot air coming from the other side of the cave. They are amazed to see a new room, lit from above by a natural opening. Below, a dimly lit hot spring pool. It's a sudden discovery of warmth and potential healing in the midst of pain and rising water.
The girl lets go of the narrator. She touches the steam, testing it, tests the water with her foot. It's not too hot. She runs to the narrator, removes her own clothes, helps the narrator remove their pants, and drags them to the pool, a sudden, intense act of care after the attack.
The narrator's wounds burn, joints feel like falling off, but the warmth of the water embraces them, offering relief. The steam is a mist. The narrator sees her silhouette undressing. She jumps into the shallow water, hot water splashing her face. She smiles without protest, finding comfort or release. As the steam fades, the narrator sees her on the other side of the pool, hugging her knees, looking grim again, the brief smile gone.
She looks at the water, tempted to drink, but spits it out. It's brackish. Strange, the narrator notes they don't remember brackish water here in this specific cave, hinting that this hot spring cave might be new or different, part of the shifting reality. Vanya hates, but Vanya fears. The girl murmurs, her words echoing, connecting Vanya to concepts of hatred and fear, perhaps reflecting her own understanding or projection. The narrator doesn't know how to reply.
Then in an unknown language, she murmurs, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. This phrase is highly significant. It's Aramaic, translating to, my God, why have you forsaken me? Jesus' words on the cross. Its appearance here from this girl is incredibly jarring and adds a profound, perhaps theological or existential layer to her distress and the narrative's themes of suffering and abandonment. She stands, crawls to the narrator, kneels, touches their painful cheek, surprised when the narrator winces. She hugs herself, backs away, and sits beside them.
Her energy is probably spent from dragging the narrator in the emotional turmoil. The narrator hears her soft snoring among the echoing waves, a return to the vulnerability of the sleeping child. This section portrays the girl's dramatic shift from rage to desperate help and vulnerability, leading the injured narrator to a mysterious hot spring that offers healing but also presents strange phenomena. Brackish water, the cryptic prayer. Her words and actions suggest a connection to deeper cosmic or theological issues, linking her to Vanya and the narrator's struggle in complex ways.
As the narrator drifts between consciousness and the hot spring, a dream sequence pulls them into a completely different reality. Sir, please sign the documents. The waves in the cave become the sound of air conditioning in an office. The girl's face transforms into that of an old notary with glasses, her thin lips replaced by thick lipstick, a stern, intimidating face demanding compliance.
The narrator sees their own wrinkled hand in this dream, no longer young and strong, pen ready to sign over property rights, perhaps giving away control, identity, or a legacy. They hear soft, warm laughter, a stark contrast to the sterile office, and turn towards a glass office door drawn by it.
Sir, are you still with us? The notary and other faces they avoid looking at pull them back to the mundane, suffocating reality of the office. They scrawl on the document, a final act of yielding, then jump up, almost falling, forgetting their body is old and weak in this dream.
They take a cane, limping, dragging their foot, determined to escape this reality. They hear whispers around them. Sorry, ma'am. Looks like Father's episode is back. This identifies the narrator in this dream as Father, and the figures around his family, viewing their actions as a medical episode. The voices are pitying and dismissive. The voices try to break their heart, but the narrator keeps moving, searching for the small body's shadow, the girl, or Vanya, among the tall, pitying shadows of their family or colleagues. The voices disappear as their ear chases the laughter, the only source of warmth or authenticity.
The silhouette of the girl appears from the shadows, trying to avoid the narrator, perhaps running from this past self or the life represented by the office. She seems to wait, sees the narrator, and her small body disappears into the light among the blurry tall figures. The narrator keeps moving towards that light, limping with the cane. Nothing stops them, and the thought comes, Maybe nothing wants narrator but that one, the girl, Vanya, the one linked to the laughter and the light, not the suffocating past.
They see a bright light in Vanya's body with arms outstretched, the longed-for figure. They try to reach her, but their old body falls, and they follow, falling through time and space. Time stops, the ground recedes. The small body turns, looks back, and the narrator sees a terrifying final image in this dream. Darkness and a skull laughing. This disturbing dream sequence is a jarring contrast to the cave and tsunami, plunging the narrator into a painful past identity of mundane powerlessness, family judgment, and a search for something real, the laughter, the girl Vanya, amidst artifice. The final vision of the laughing skull links this traumatic past to death and perhaps Vanya's more unsettling aspects. After the intense office dream and the attack in the cave, the narrator's eyes open again, truly waking up. The cataract in their eyes fades into vapor, of physical healing coinciding with this awakening. Their body feels normal, with only faint pain remaining. They move their hand and feel the small body of the girl leaning against them. There's a strange warmth. The numbness from the hot spring is gone. Only her back's warmth has felt a different kind of connection than the chilling cold from Vanya earlier.
The little girl is sleeping soundly beside them, snoring softly, no longer hostile. Her helpless body doesn't reject narrator's presence, a key contrast to the earlier sense of rejection or struggle. The narrator shakes their head and stands slowly, holding her head to keep it from hitting the water as they move, a protective gesture.
They lift her. The water in the hot spring is reluctant to let her go, almost clinging. She feels light and weak, explicitly unlike the stronger Vanya. The narrator leans her on their own clothes outside the water and puts her white dress back on her, ignoring the visible silhouette while dressing her, focusing on the task. They lift her gently and walk up to another cave mouth, calling them, the narrator now taking the lead.
They exit the cave into fresh air, finding themselves on a limestone field. They're standing on a karst mountain and they see a carved stone altar or pundan, a structure for offerings or worship, suggesting a sacred or significant location. Their body moves automatically, drawn by some impulse, to walk and put the small body of the girl on the altar.
As the girl is placed on the altar, the universe suddenly turns gray. The narrator looks at the sky, the sun is pale, and a black circle tries to swallow it. An eclipse is happening. This cosmic event coincides precisely with this action on the mountain altar.
I truly can't understand humans. A voice echoes from the sky, reacting to the scene. The narrator turns. The little girl's body on the altar is slowly rising into the air. The eclipse changes her white dress, staining it dark, and her shadow lengthens the dress, transforming her appearance.
Vanya is back, wearing the black mourning dress associated with her more mysterious, powerful, and perhaps painful aspects with her black eyes. But this time there's no smile or mysterious expressions, only rage. Her dark eyes look at the narrator, but there's no peace in their gaze. The narrator's head hurts, and past voices whisper again, blending Vanya's presence with the narrator's traumatic memories. "Brother, no one is here." A shadow appears painfully, the shadow from the nightmares, perhaps linked to the past life or trauma. Vanya walks slowly, her hand raised, her fingers seeming to choke the air, mirroring the girl's action in the cave, but on a cosmic scale.
The narrator's breath shortens, chest tight, as if being choked by Vanya's power from afar. Their body lifts involuntarily, but their eyes can't leave her absorbing gaze. Memories and thoughts turn bitter, directly linked to the office dream and the past life. This marriage is to save our family, dear. They see eyes blur, memories soften, but the pain remains, like a film of life playing as a bitter comedy. What does father want? I've given everything. Can't father stop being eccentric? Well, here's a painful, oppressive memories associated with the narrator's conventional past life, brought forth by Vanya's rage and the eclipse.
Vanya releases her grip on the air. The narrator's body slams onto the karst ground. They try to rise, holding their neck where the girl had choked them. Before them, Vanya cries, her rage unending, tears mixing with fury. The eclipse slowly spits out the sun, the cosmic event concluding with this emotional climax. This powerful sequence sees Vanya's furious return, triggered by the narrator placing the girl, a representation of their past or desired form of Vanya, on the altar during an eclipse. Vanya's rage is linked to the narrator's traumatic past memories, suggesting that the narrator's past life choices and their apparent rejection on the altar have profound implications for Vanya's own existence and identity. After that explosive display of rage and pain, Vanya lets out a sigh. "Ah," she says, "how can I punish you if your life is enough to pay for your sins?" This is a remarkable statement, implying that the narrator's past life and journey have been suffering enough to constitute a form of punishment, perhaps for the very sins Vanya perceives, like rejecting the creating God. She looks at her hands, clenches them, and hugs her body, a gesture of internal pain.
She kneels before the fallen narrator, who is injured but conscious, but Vanya is too afraid to touch, despite her earlier care. Tears flow from her universe-absorbing eyes, no longer just raging, but sorrowful. Her lips tremble, trying to say the unsaid, the deep disappointment she feels.
Why did you present me in the form you desired, but you rejected it? Vanya asks, directly confronting the narrator about the girl on the altar, and the earlier times Vanya took forms that the narrator seemed to pull away from. The narrator smiles, feeling Vanya's question, born of vulnerability, somehow healed our mind from the poisoning memories of the past life that Vanya's rage had stirred up.
The narrator gives a profound explanation for their actions. Because I didn't want that desire to be the reason you were here, but I wanted that desire to come from your own will. Because what I sought was non-existence, and to reach it I had to leave all desires except yours. This is the core of the narrator's journey. Seeking non-existence requires shedding all personal desires, except the desire for Vanya herself, not just a manifestation of the narrator's own suppressed wishes, like the girl from the past.
Yeah. Vanya is silent, processing these complex words. The narrator forces their injured body up, still watching her, not blinking, not wasting the chance to see the abyss in her eyes, the profound emptiness she embodies.
You are my only child who reached me, Vanya says, revealing a deeper connection. She sees the narrator as her child, the only one who found their way back to her, the source. But you are also the one who rejected me. Her sob is heartbreaking, full of unspeakable disappointment, as if the narrator's actions have destroyed her millennia of waiting for her children creations to return.
The narrator repeats their explanation, perhaps emphasizing the point with a slight variation. Because I wanted you to be the figure you yourself desired. I didn't want you to appear from desires I've rejected, though I yearn for them, because what I sought was non-existence, and to reach it I had to leave all desires besides yours. This confirms the narrator's goal and their unique desire for Vanya's true self, not a reflection of their own.
Vanya is startled by this repetition, or the depth of the narrator's commitment. Her eyes widen, sucking back the tears. A strong force tries to devour the narrator, emanating from Vanya perhaps, but Vanya quickly closes her eyes and wipes them, controlling the power, choosing not to destroy the narrator. Thank you for presenting yourself in the desire I suppressed, she says, acknowledging the form of the girl, which was linked to the narrator's desires, but perhaps also Vanya's own suppressed potential forms. But do you want yourself to appear in this form? She tunes the question back on the narrator.
Vanya is silent, looks down, avoiding eye contact, perhaps revealing her own uncertainty about the form the narrator desired. She quickly hugs her stomach as if to hide it, linking back to the earlier pain and the torn womb of creation, suggesting this vulnerability is part of her true self. I can't present myself as I am, she says. You could be destroyed by it. The fullness of her being, the abyss, is too much for human perception.
The narrator kind of chuckles at this, tears flowing, finding humor in the understatement. They breathe deeply, gathering strength. I won't faint, they declare, accepting the risk, not even if mountains crumble just because of your presence. They are ready to face her true form.
Vanya's face flushes at this acceptance and resolve. She tries hard to avoid the narrator's eyes, tries to talk, composing herself. No, she says, I don't want to just destroy you. I like the body you gave, referring to the physical form the narrator currently inhabits, and I will take good care of it. Therefore, allow me to change this body into the form I desire. This is a pivotal moment of mutual understanding and acceptance. The narrator's complex explanation of their search for non-existence and their specific desire for Vanya's true self is understood. Vanya accepts the body the narrator provided, their shared reality form, and expresses her own desire to inhabit a form she desires, respecting the connection while asserting her identity. She looks up, her eyes black again, red from tears, ready to reveal her true, chosen form. In this climax, Vanya raises her open hands to the air. Her mortal body glows, becoming translucent. The universe reacts dramatically. Waves surge, reaching for the mountain base. Storm clouds gather, swirling faster. Lightning threatening the cosmos, mirroring the intensity of this transformation.
Looks like my other children are jealous of you, Vanya smiles, laughing the longed-for laugh. A laugh of power and perhaps liberation, acknowledging the cosmic forces reacting to the narrator's unique connection to her. Her translucent body fades, swallowed by points of emptiness, consuming her clothes, a visual manifestation of her shedding the physical world.
Her body is naked, flesh replaced by a glass-like body, devoid of light or color, explicitly described as nothingness embodied. Her stomach breaks, hollowed, revealing the torn womb of creation as an inherent part of her being. Her right eye slowly dissolves, leaving a captivating black hole, a literal manifestation of the abyss she embodies.
The universe continues to react violently to their forbidden desire, perhaps the desire for the void, for non-existence, or for the union between human and the void. Waves are higher, lightning strikes rocks, but doesn't dare approach the mountain where they stand. The threats of creation are meaningless before the embodied nothingness. Her long black hair is described as waves, hungry for existence, waiting to reabsorb everything.
Will you accept this body that I desire, my beloved? Vanya asks, offering her true form, Vanitas, the womb of nothingness. The narrator responds by hugging the body of nothingness tightly. Touching her, all body heat vanishes. The narrator shivers in her embrace, physically experiencing the nature of the void. She buries her face in the narrator's chest, a final physical intimacy.
Lightning strikes, the sun melts, clouds scatter, waves collide, the universe dissolving around them. Nothingness takes everything, clothes, memory, name. The narrator stripped bare, their identity dissolving. She lifts her face, smiles, raises her hand again, asking to be lifted, a gesture of intimacy and control. She sits on the narrator's hand, weightless, defying physics.
Holding on, Vanya brings her face closer and says, "Return to me, Venice, my son, the ephemeral one who longs for nothingness." She gives the narrator a new name, Venice, meaning ephemeral or vain, and claims them as her son, who uniquely desired to return to the void. She closes her eyes. The narrator's body moves in the rhythm allowed by the goddess, surrendering control. The narrator touches her lips with their own, a final kiss. They look at each other, her black eyes open, darker black, now the pure abyss. She guides the narrator to explore her small body, and the narrator feels her grandeur, the infinite contained within the nothingness.
Her small fingers touch the narrator's deepest part, reaching into their essence. Tear this womb and return to your mother and know my name, Vanitas, the womb of nothingness. This is the final revelation. Vanya's true name is Vanitas, meaning emptiness or vanity, and she is the source, the womb of nothingness, from which existence emerged into which it returns. The command to tear this womb echoes the earlier vision of creation as a tearing pain.
The sun explodes, and the narrator realizes they are inside it. She pulls their face closer, and they realize they are sinking deeper into her glowing body. The sky breaks, the veil lifted, revealing reality beyond perception. The narrator witnesses a starry sky they never knew, infinite stars filling the sky, moving closer. "Look, Vanice, all those are the stars I've birthed," Vanitas says, confirming her identity as the source of the universe. "And now they will return to my embrace."
The sky dome merges perfectly with Vanitas' body, growing larger, becoming her. The narrator cries, realizing they were in her womb all along, that existence was a temporary state within the void. Inside, the narrator's body shrinks. She grows, devouring everything. The narrator's body becomes a black hole center, a focal point of absorption. They see Vanitas smile like a mother seeing her child, a chilling image of maternal love combined with cosmic consumption.
As the narrator is absorbed, Vanitas' body becomes fragile, erodes, and disappears, leaving only her hands and part of her head with serene, loving eyes, the last vestiges of form before complete dissolution. "Do I look beautiful when I'm dying?" she asks again, echoing the sunset question, but now referring to her dissolution back into pure nothingness as the universe returns to her. The narrator sees her hands stroke her stomach, feeling warmth again, perhaps a lingering sense of the womb. Almost sinking completely, the narrator tries hard to answer.
And their final reply is profound.
Yeah,
Because in your dying, you are bearing yourself as nothingness. It's an acceptance of her true, terrifying beauty found in the absence of being.
Vanitas smiles. She tries hard to see the narrator with eyes that won't let go, holding on to the connection even as form dissolves. The narrator's body erodes, almost vanishes, becoming a tiny star orbiting Vanitas, a final spark of identity before full absorption. The goddess's body is almost a black hole, swallowing everything. The narrator orbits closer, Vanitas kisses them, her black eyes close, and her final words followed by terrifying laughter. "Thank you for sacrificing the universe to me."
Echoing laughter is heard, not from her lips, but from the darkness absorbing the narrator. The universe disappears in silence. The laughter is the last memory before vanishing into Vanitas, the womb of nothingness, the ultimate non-existence the narrator sought. This final section is an astonishing, abstract culmination, revealing Vanya's true identity as Vanitas, the womb of nothingness. The narrator, now Venus, accepts this reality, leading to a cosmic dissolution where the universe is reabsorbed into its source, and the narrator achieves their desired non-existence by returning to the void, completing a journey from perceived confinement in the physical body to ultimate absorption into the absence of being. Wow, okay, just wow. That was less of a deep dive and more of being dissolved into the cosmic bathwater. This narrative took us on an incredible journey, starting from a sense of being trapped in a body through visions, fragmented memories, physical trials, philosophical debates about the nature of desire and existence, and culminated in something truly beyond comprehension, being reabsorbed into the literal womb of nothingness, the source of creation itself.
It's an incredibly intense and complex source. Yes, it absolutely pushes the boundaries of our conventional understanding of time, memory, self, identity, and even divinity. The idea that the ultimate reality might not be a creator god, but a void that birthed and reabsorbs everything is a profound reversal.
Yeah. And the narrator's journey, their deliberate search for non-existence, born from a rejection of a painful past and a conventional God. And then finding that non-existence, not an isolated emptiness, but within the embrace of this cosmic entity, Vanitas. It completely reframes the idea of belonging or returning home, doesn't it?
This narrative challenges our ideas about reality, connection, and purpose in such a fundamental way. What does it mean when the ultimate truth or divine isn't found in creation, but in its absorption back into the void from which it came? And that final echoing laughter, is it one of liberation for Vanitas fulfilling her purpose, or is it something more terrifying for the narrator, Vanis, being consumed? Hard to say.
It leaves you with so much to consider. This story ends with the narrator being reabsorbed into the womb of nothingness, the very source of creation and destruction. It leaves us with this powerful, unsettling, and ultimately provocative thought. What if true understanding or belonging isn't about finding your place in the universe, but about returning to the void from which it came?
A question that resonates long after the final word. Definitely.
We hope this deep dive gave you new perspectives and surprising insights from this truly unique source material. It's a reminder that sometimes the most profound understandings come from embracing the strange and charting the uncharted territories of consciousness and reality. Until the next time.
Keep diving deep.